Do you struggle to sleep at night? Perhaps it's because your partner needs something to combat their snoring problem. Are you confused about which supplements you should be taking? Do you want to find the right kind of exercise equipment for your home? Or maybe you're just looking for the best electric shaver. Which has hundreds of product reviews to keep you fit, eat well, sleep better, and everything in between. Just head to which.co.uk/health to read our expert insight and independent reviews. Get expert advice and recommendations to live your best life every day with Which.
Hello, what you are about to hear is the free version of a podcast where we help you get ready for a Best Buy Christmas at the dinner table. Now, Which members can get access to the full podcast where we reveal all of the food and drink that we've awarded a Best Buy. You can listen to that on our website at which.co.uk/member-podcasts or in our app. If you're not already a member, don't forget that podcast listeners like you can get 50% off the first year of a membership right now by going to which.co.uk/podcast offer. And both of those links are in the show notes. But in this free version, there's still plenty of insight and advice from our food experts and some special guests too. How do you know which food and drink you should buy for a Best Buy Christmas? Well, we're going to tell you on this podcast from Which. Hello, it's James Rowe here in the Which studio. I've got some very special guests coming up a little bit later, but joining us for the entire podcast, we've got Becky Marcus, who works across our food and drink here at Which. Becky, hello.
Hello, nice to be here.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Are you in the Christmas spirit yet?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the Christmas spirit for a while, just because I've been working on the Christmas taste test for like the past 6 months. So.
Yeah, can you give us a bit of an idea about that? Because that's what we're going to get into, all of the taste tests that we do and how we get to these results to award products with the Best Buy. When does Christmas actually start for you?
So it started all the way back in July, which sounds like a really long time ago.
It sounds madness, I must say.
It is a little bit, but yeah, we start planning really early in advance for our Christmas taste test. It's a super busy time of year for us. We spend a lot of time planning our testing, scoping potential categories, finding experts, coordinating samples, ready for the testing to begin in September. And that means that we can publish our results as soon as possible to give people plenty of time to stock up on their favourite products.
I was going to say, we need the notice, so I think we're all thankful that you start pretty early on in the year. So you say that we do some expert taste test panels, but then we do some consumer ones as well. So is that with members of the public?
Yeah, exactly. So we run taste tests with large panels of consumers. So there's at least 60 people rating each product. All of the products are tasted blind and in a rotated order to avoid any bias. Each tester has a private tasting booth, so they can't discuss what they're tasting or be influenced by others. And then our in-house stats team crunch the numbers to find the best rated products.
It's very secretive. It sounds like you go into like one of those photo booths and you pull the curtain and then you have all the food yourself and then come out and do the results and that kind of thing. How do we decide which ones are consumer-based and which ones are expert-led?
So for some products, we'll test them with expert panels. These tend to be for the more premium products like wine, champagne, and it's really useful to get a panel of expert judges to assess the products because they can give kind of really rich, detailed descriptions of the products. So, for example, we had Masters of Wine assessing the wines this year. We had pastry chefs assessing the mince pies, and it really helps to give that extra level of depth to the reviews.
And we'll have one of those wine experts and one of those pastry chefs joining us a little later to chat more about mince pies and wine. How do we then decide which, first of all, which product areas we decide to review, and then also which of the individual products from the different supermarkets? How do we narrow those two categories down?
So there's some products that we test every year, like mince pies, Christmas puddings, wine, but then other product categories, we actually survey Which members to find out which products they really want us to test. So, for example, last year we tested chocolate and truffles. This year we tested smoked salmon. That was really popular popular in our member survey. So we wanted to make sure we got it on the lineup this year.
That's one of the best things about Which, isn't it? We're very led by our members. If that's what they want to know about, we will endeavour to do our best to do that. And then when you look at the individual product, so say supermarket A has a product, how do you decide you're definitely going to choose that one from a particular supermarket? How do you narrow these different products down?
So it's really important that all the products that we test are comparable. So for example, for mince pies, we test the most premium range supermarket own label option from all the supermarkets. For smoked salmon, again, we tested premium. We made sure they were all mild and delicate, so the strength of smoke flavour was the same. And for wines, actually, supermarkets nominate products according to specific criteria we give them. So we give them criteria about the price point, the type of occasion it's suitable for. Champagne, it has to be non-vintage. So there's various things, and then they'll put forward products for us to test.
A lot of methodology goes into this, which is great to hear. Well, let's chat to Dan Lepard. He is a chef and a food writer who was part of the expert panel who helped us review our best shop-bought mince pies. We caught up with him a little bit earlier on, and here's what he had to say. Dan Lepard, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
James, thank you. I'm very well. I'm getting into mince pie mode, getting into the Christmas spirit.
The big question, I think we should start with this. Do you actually like a mince pie? Because I know plenty of people who don't.
It's a good question. I was thinking this too, because I have expertise in making them, but equal to that, and I think incredibly important, is loving them. And I do. I really love a mince pie.
And give us a bit of a background to you then. How come Which come knocking on your door every year and say, come and help us judge these mince pies? What's your background?
I work cheaply. No, what is my background? I started back in about 1991. There was a restaurant called Alistair Little, and he was one of those hot modern British chefs, and I started on the pastry section, and for the next whatever it's been 30 years I've stayed this pastry loving chef. I've worked with some of the top chefs in the world as well as in London, and I'm kind of known as one of the top bakers in the world.
And Dan, for you, why is it important that you keep coming back year after year to help us here at Which come up with our full results?
Well, I was thinking about this on the way in. I think possibly it might have even been 12 years, at least 10 years I've been judging them. And each time I get a different impression about what the supermarkets are aiming for. And I guess out of that, in subsequent years, I see things that didn't work, things that have succeeded. And now it's so exciting because I think there's been this huge development in the ability of supermarkets to create things that do very nearly taste homemade.
And what do you look for then? You know, as an expert, if you've got a range of them in front of you and you begin to taste them, what are you looking for as an expert that perhaps somebody like me who's a bit of a normal person eating a mince pie, what are you looking for?
I mean, firstly, you're starting from the outside in. So you're looking at the appearance and saying, does that look desirable? Does it look like something that would whet my appetite looking at it?
And would you be immediately put off if something didn't quite look up to scratch?
Well, yes, but then what can happen is that you bite into it and you go, oh boy, that's amazing. That's just fantastic. And this year we had some that did that.
You mentioned a little bit earlier about how, you know, you keep coming back every year and you can almost spot the trends and spot what supermarkets are doing differently. Just how difficult is it for a supermarket to make these in bulk? Because they certainly are in bulk, aren't they? They come on the supermarket shelves earlier and earlier. But how can they actually make something that almost feels and tastes homemade?
I think over the past 25 years, and what's changed is that there are many more bespoke ingredients that are available from the supermarket suppliers. So if they want to say, we want a particular type of currant or a particular type of Sicilian lemon, they can source that in a way that 25 years ago they couldn't. I think it's a much more competitive retail market. That's really kept everyone on their toes.
Well, we are going to reveal the results in a moment, and you will be telling everybody the best buy mince pie. But before we get there, can we just do some general feedback across the board? So, Dan, do you want to sort of take us back to the taste test room? Becky, you can chip in as well for some general thoughts this year about what the quality was like across the board.
Well, it was wonderful. We had a new team this year. We had Anna Hyam from Quince Bakery, the wonderful Martha Collison from Bake Off, and Daryl Collins, this fantastic pastry chef from the Thurleston Hotel in Devon. Having the three of them gave us this breadth of expertise in different ways. I must congratulate you. You organise it so well that there's no cheating. There's no sense that anyone's going to dominate in any way. It's as fair as it's more fair than anyone else. So,
a round of applause. There we go. And that as well, just to hear that quickly from an expert like that, just shows why and how people can trust the Which taste test. Obviously, there's a lot of other taste tests out there, but Which goes to that extra mile, doesn't it? And that's why you can trust us.
Yeah, definitely. So there are lots of things that we factor in our methodology. So, for example, all of the mince pies are blind tasted, so no one knows which one they're tasting at any one point. All the experts on our panel taste the products in a different order as well. So the order is rotated, so they can't be influenced. And they also taste them in complete silence, so they can't discuss their scores as they go along. And then at the end, once all the products have been tasted, the scores are all submitted, then they will talk about the scores and the comments.
Yeah. And if anyone wonders how we manage to talk about other things, we talk about Donald Trump, we talk about global warming, we talk about the world in general, but we try not to talk about mince pies.
I was going to say, it must be difficult for a group of chefs and cooks to be there and not talk about the food that's right in front of you. That's like an alien experience. But this year, I've just seen some of the feedback, and I wonder if the two of you can give us a bit of it. Just generally across the board, some of the a lot of the pies seemed quite similar this year. Does that make it more difficult to find a winner and rank them and come up with the results?
It's been happening year after year. Do they watch each other? Do they have spies and they're trying to make them all the same? Is there a cabal of mince pie manufacturers that says, let's see if we can make them all identical? And they cheer every Christmas. They're the same. They're the same. So the ones that are different really stand out. The other issue, I don't want to get too much into the complaints at the beginning, but they all needed kind of more spice, more zestiness, more oomph. You know, they were just sort of lacking often. For myself, although I have just stopped drinking alcohol for health reasons and everything, I missed that tang of rum or brandy. I would have liked that in a few more, especially, because they're trying to be premium. And I don't know, I always think premium means a bit of alcohol. That's just I don't know. I'm showing my age here. On the plus side, I think that they're getting better on their pastry skills in mass production. We saw some really thin, crisp pastry that was buttery and gorgeous, whereas they go back a dozen years and they were kind of really stodgy. Maybe that was the intention, a nice stodgy mince pie, whereas there was a delicacy that, I know some customers are going to think, they're cutting costs because they've made the pastry thinner. It's actually really hard to do. So, I think that was a strength, and I think it shows improved technical ability too. And a really good, to me, pastry ratio of mincemeat to pastry. And very few had big air holes at the top. So I think they've upped their game. Shrinkflation has hit them too. They're getting smaller. They don't seem quite as generous. But I don't know. Maybe then you can eat more. maybe that's the approach.
Well, I think that is the perfect time for us to get into our reviews and reveal the best buy. Now, that is only available to our Which members. So if you're listening to this and you are a Which member, there is a link in the show notes so you can keep on listening. If you're not a member, then don't worry. You can get 50% off a Which membership right now. Just head to which.co.uk/podcast offer to get involved. But for now, Dan, thank you very much.
Thank you, James.
Now then, Becky is still with us, and before we get into wine, our wine expert is going to join us in just a second. We do know that there's a lot of other food we tested for Christmas. Becky, do you want to just take us through the list of all of these different food and drink products that we have tested this year?
Yeah, so we've tested loads of products this year. We've got mince pies, Christmas puddings, champagne, red wine, sparkling wine, and smoked salmon.
Very good. So there's plenty that we've been testing this year. As we say, all of our taste test results available to all of our members, but we can give a little sneaky few things away to people who aren't members just yet. Do you want to take us through some of the ones that have a best buy this year?
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of mince pies, we just had one best buy, and that was Waitrose #1 brown butter mince pies.
Which are lovely. We should say on the full member version we did with Dan, we did have a quick taste and they were delicious, we should say. What else? Some of the others as well.
And then we've got a couple of champagnes. So Tesco Finest champagne was the best buy. And also a really cheap Lidl champagne, which I think surprised everyone because that's like less than £15 a bottle. And it scored really well. And it's our great value pick.
Then we've also got some other food. We've got some smoked salmon as well. That has a best buy as well.
Yeah, so we had a best buy from Aldi. It's specially selected mild and delicate smoked salmon. And that was one of the cheapest we tested as well. It's less than £3.50 a pack. So that's a really good kind of budget option. We've also got a best buy from Moe. Their organic Scottish smoked salmon really, really impressed our tasters. And that was one of the more expensive ones we tested. But it's organic. So, it's a good one if you're looking for kind of a more sustainable option.
Well, there's a few, some of the best buys that we can give away for Christmas this year. If you want to know all of them, because there are plenty on there, Becky, plenty of food and drink that have got the best buy this year, just head to the website if you're a member, or if you're not already a member, which.co.uk/podcast offer to get involved. We are now joined by Sam Caporn. She is a wine expert and a master of wine with over 20 years experience in the industry. Hello, Sam.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks. How are you?
Very well.
First, I have to ask about Master of Wine. It's a very grand title. What does it mean?
And deservedly so, yeah. So Master of Wine is essentially... it sounds a bit big-headed, doesn't it? It's like the pinnacle of sort of wine qualification. So that you've got the WSET, the Wine and Spirit Education Trust, and you can do your level 1, 2, 3, and then you can do level 4, which is your diploma. And then some people choose to go on after that and do the Master of Wine. And I think there are 418 in the world. So, fun fact, more people have been into space than are Masters of Wine. So, I'm not sure what that says about the qualification.
I'm going to bring you back down to sort of my level.
Lovely.
And I'm going to ask you a very basic question.
Yeah, go on.
For you personally, white, red or rosé, what's your preference?
Fizz.
Okay.
Just to be really awkward.
Option number 4, fizz.
I would say fizz. Fizz would be my desert island drink. Fun fact: the bubbles in the wine enter your it basically make the alcohol into your bloodstream faster. So you do get a really nice fizzy lift. So if it's the end of the week and it's a Friday and you're feeling a bit jaded, a glass of fizz is very reviving.
So that's a good way of going about it then. Yeah,
and it's quite low alcohol, so it's also a bit more moderate. And delicious. So I'd always go for fizz, and then rest of the time I'm very seasonal. So rosé will not touch my lips now till April when I'm back in flip flops. And then
so you're very much on the red at this time of year, I guess.
Bang on the red, yeah. Yeah.
Lovely stuff. We should talk about some wine tasting.
Yes, please.
Why, when Becky picks up the phone to you every
Yeah.
year, why do you say yes to helping Which? What do you
Yeah.
like about Which doing taste testing?
Well, there's a number of things, I suppose. I mean, obviously it's Which, so you've also got kind of the whole rigour behind it and the sort of the impartiality, and it's really interesting to see what the retailers have chosen to send in to Which, and what they're anticipating being, I guess, their big sellers for the year.
A little bit earlier on, before you joined us, we were chatting about how we decide which products and which products the supermarkets send.
Yeah.
And it's obviously very interesting. Obviously, when you get your hands on the wines, then you look at them, and you've done this for a few years. It's always a little bit different, I guess, the wines you end up tasting.
What it is, and you're never entirely sure. People are sending in sort of winter reds or wines that they're really thinking about more for the Christmas table. So you do get quite a variety, and that's also really fun. And also, it's just known that a lot of people, it's really helpful. I think as someone who's in the wine trade, it's really easy to forget how little a lot of consumers know about wine. And it's the same kind of idea like with Which, like with medals. Like if people see medals on a bottle, that's a really good steer. But for so many people, it is this whole wall of wine on the shelf. And if there's a way of drilling into that and actually getting professional palates to look at a wine or range of wines and actually say, right, this is our expert opinion, and we're all expert. All the teams we always use, so yeah, it's a really, really helpful, credible exercise that really gives the end consumer a useful steer to what to drink.
So this year we've taste tested. I say we, you have.
Yeah.
I've not been lucky enough to do so. But champagne, sparkling wine, and red wine.
Yeah.
Just individually for them all. Then. So for champagne, what are you looking for in a good champagne?
Okay, so I don't want to get too nerdy.
Oh, you
on
can.
this.
You can get
okay,
nerdy.
so can I nerd out?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so the difference between Prosecco and champagne is you have the base wine, you have the base still wine. So you make wine, and then you have to add sugar and yeast, and so it makes it re-ferment, and a byproduct's carbon dioxide. And so then you basically let that dissolve back into the wine, and that creates the bubbles or the mousse, the fizz. So with something like Prosecco, that's just done in a big tank. So you've got a tank, and the second fermentation to create the fizz happens in a tank. So consequently, it's quite pale, it's quite light, the bubble's quite big, the alcohol's lower. It's all about fruit and approachability and kind of fun, and it's just a really sort of delicious, easy drink. But then champagne, with other traditional method sparkling wines, is bottle fermented. So the wine that you pick from the shelf, that second fermentation has happened in that very bottle, and the essentially the yeast eat the sugar, and then there's no sugar left, so the yeast die, and it's a contact of the dead yeast with the wine that's called yeast autolysis, and it's got this lees contact, the lees being the dead yeast, and it's that contact with the dead yeast that creates a very different style of wine. And so instead of fruit, you've got kind of savoury, and you've got nutty, biscuity, bready, bakery notes, patisserie notes, all things you'll relate to the fizz, and obviously the kind of the wine as well. So maybe notes of apple or from Chardonnay, or red fruit from the red grape varieties in it. So for me, when I'm tasting champagne, that yeast lees, that's what you're paying for. Well, and also the grapes and the fact that champagne's expensive and whatnot. So legally, it has to be on that, to be non-vintage, it has to be on that yeast lees for a year, for a minimum of a year. And some will do more. They can pick up to, you would never really do more than 3 years for non-vintage. And legally it has to be on for 3 years for a vintage. So for me, those notes are really important. And I don't really want a fruity champagne. If I wanted a fruity sparkling wine, I'd go for a Prosecco. So you want that autolysis, but also you want it to be really kind of quite subtle and just really well balanced. So balance is one of the most underrated words in wine. You just want a really lovely balanced wine, but that's distinctly champagne-y, that has all these nutty sort of brioche, croissant, bready notes. And I'm a real sucker for that.
I'm going to stick with this nerdy point only because I loved how passionate you were to begin with. Becky, I'm going to ask you first, and then we can ask Sam. Sometimes when I hear wine experts like Sam talking about the notes they can smell or taste in a wine, and they use words like you just used there, like bready or that kind of thing, do you, like me, wonder what that actually means and how they can sense those kinds of flavors in a wine. I'm not alone, am I?
Yeah, it's like a superpower. It's amazing. I just taste it and I'm like, yeah, tastes nice. And they can identify all these interesting like flavor notes. They can talk about the complexity, the balance. Yeah, it's really impressive.
It is impressive. How do you do it? Because I can. Earlier when we were joined by Dan, when we revealed which one of the Best Buy mince pies it was, we tasted one, and I could tell immediately that was a very good quality product. I reckon if I had a taste of one of the Best Buy champagnes, I would know it was very good, just because I can taste that it tastes nice.
Yeah.
How can you taste all of these other flavours?
So I think there's a few things. I think there is a language, and so you can learn it. So if you for what I said before, if you think, right, okay, when I taste Prosecco, I'm looking for these things. So then you just have a shorthand. So you're expecting like melon or apricot or pear. They're like the key flavours you'll expect. And then you might dial it up or down. So if it's really a lot of pear, you might go it's conference pear, or if it's less ripe, you might go pear skin. And so it's kind of like a vocabulary and a language. And you need to just kind of almost like plotting things on a graph. And it's the same with like the champagne. You might go, oh, it's appley, but actually, is it just fresh apple? Is it green apple? Is it red apple? But is there the pastry notes? Are there the pastry notes there? So is it apple Danish, or is there some spice on the base blend? So is that apple crumble? And if it's nutty, is it like grilled nuts, or is it I don't know, more like a shelled nut, or is it actually got some richness? Is it more like a pecan pie? Is it more like a pecan? So you almost just start with your little base fruits and flavours, and then it is try and identify them, or just thinking of interesting ways to dial that up or dial it down.
It's quite scientific as well, isn't it? Because it's not as if if winemakers are cramming these unusual flavours in. It's more to do with, like, I guess I was going to use the word chemicals. That's not quite the right word. No,
it's quite complicated, and it's all it is quite complicated. You have the natural aromas and flavours you get from the grape variety, but then also there's a whole wizardry that happens with the winemaking that release loads of like esters and create a lot of the flavours. But it is honestly, it's just learning what grape varieties really generally taste of what fruits. It's normally fruits and flowers.
But it might take us 20 years.
Oh yeah, nearly 30 next year.
Quickly touch on red wine. I guess that's a bit different as well. What are you looking for a red wine?
So it's quite interesting because we taste the wines blind as well. And I can't work out if it should matter or not, but because we're tasting the wines blind and you literally don't know anything about the wine apart from rough steer on price, they're all commercial prices, and they do have the country on, but that's quite broad. So it is quite fun trying to identify the wine, because if it screams of what it is, that's also like that's an advantage. It means it's really true to type, and I'd say that's a good thing. So, if you've got let's say it's a wine from Spain, and you can tell immediately that's a Rioja, then rather than from anywhere else, or like a Garnacha or something, then you can go, oh, that I love that. I know that's what as a consumer I'd expect. If I can blind taste that, and it's really true to type, that's really good. And then you're assessing the wine, whatever you think it is. So you'll kind of look at, for me, it's really kind of a straightforward structure. You'll look at the colour, because the depth of colour tells you a lot. So if the colour's really pale, it'll be a grape variety like a Pinot or something that's got really thin skins. So the skin to juice ratio means it's always going to be quite light in colour, quite light in structure, and more red fruit. So I'm thinking, is this red fruit, blue fruit, purple fruit, black fruit? And that will help give you your structure and your sort of tasting notes and stuff. And then you smell it, and aromatically is interesting. And this is for any wine really, whether it's white wine, rosé, or red wine. And then you're analysing the fruit on the palate. You're looking at the balance, the complexity. I mean, again, these are all commercial wines, but does it have a good length? If you can taste the wine for a long time, that's a sign of quality. And then, you know what? Ultimately, is it delicious? Is that that's what it boils down to. People are going to spend money on these wines. You've got cost of living. No one wants to be disappointed. So there is an element of not looking for anything too esoteric. Like if someone's sent in something a bit wacky, you'd be like, that's a bit that's an unusual choice. You're trying to find wines that you would perceive as kind of crowd friendly, that a lot of people will like and that will go with classic winter dishes, but probably given the fact that Christmas falls in winter, will it go well with my turkey? But yeah.
Shall we do some overall thoughts?
Yes.
Let's not give away anything just yet, but just some overall thoughts on the testing process. So you're in the room, you're doing your blind taste test. What was it like this year? Was the standard good across the board?
Yeah, no, it was really good. Some really good wines. Again, a variety of wines. You're having wines that are kind of a bit fresher and lighter, and maybe that's because people are thinking of Christmas. And that's a really interesting one. That always gets it always gets a lot of good chat, because basically Christmas lunch or dinner, whatever you want to call it, Christmas meal is quite a complicated meal to match wine to. And there's a lot going on in the Christmas dish. You've got your sprouts and your cranberry sauce and your pigs and blankets and maybe a parsnip puree and a bread sauce. And so there's loads going on. So for me, I would be looking for a red, whether it's a winter red or a Christmas table red. And then I think you're looking for a red that is really flavourful to cope with all of that, but also not too tannic, the tea-like structure. You want something that's also quite kind of like juicy and approachable, and just quite a lot of fruit. So I was looking for, and we got quite a lot of fruit-forward wines with lots of flavour.
In terms of buying wine in a supermarket,
yes,
is it fair to say that going for a wine from a premium range in a supermarket, is that a safer bet than going for anything else? Generally, I
would say probably yes. I think because if you think about it, with a lot of retailers, they've got a buying team and then they've got a team that will look after the liquid. So certainly some people have basically product development managers and then have buyers, and sometimes it is the same person. But I would say a lot of the retail buyers will take real pride in the fact that those supermarket labels, that's their wines. They have gone out to see the winemaker, and they've worked with the winemaker to do a bespoke blend and label for that retailer. And also I think often they can be a bit better value than going for like a classic brand. So when you go for I don't know whether it's a Tesco Finest or a Taste of Difference or an Asda one or a Co-op one or Morrison's, whatever. I think they're really good places to look, and then you can then turn the bottle round and you can see who they've worked with. You can see the name of the winery. So whether it's like winery, you'll recognise the name of it, whether it's someone from Rioja or New Zealand winery, and they do generally tend to offer really good value, and they do tend to also be the wines they'll send into competitions. So a lot of them will also come with a raft of quite impressive medals as well, and most of them don't break the bank either.
Right, Sam, before you go, I want to do some quick fire stuff with you.
Great.
About serving wine.
Oh, yes.
So, quickly, red wine.
Yes.
Should that be at room temperature before you drink it?
Yes. So, yeah, I mean, room temperature nowadays can be a bit warm. So if it's your kitchen room temperature, no. But if you've got an uncentrally heated cold dining room, then it's probably fine. But yeah, I mean, somewhat basically wines that are served a bit warm go a bit. It's really weird. It just makes the wine a bit soupy. It just sort of accentuates the alcohol, and it can make it feel a bit. So yes, it should be fine at room temperature. But if in any doubt, just stick it in the fridge for 20 minutes.
White wine straight from the fridge?
You know what? It really depends on you. I love mine arctically cold, and you know what? I know it's not good for the wine. What it does is it compromises the aromas, because if you think about the little molecules, and you're airing the wine with the red, and you're trying to get the air in, and you're trying to loosen them up so you can smell them. If you think of them being quite brittle and cold, you're not helping. So if you have a wine that's too cold, it's not going to give you as much. But if you like your wine that cold,
like you do,
like I do, you like it cold, and then as it opens up in the glass, you will get more out of it. But if you don't like it really, really fridge cold, then the rule, it's a 20-20 rule. You can put reds in the fridge 20 minutes before drinking just to freshen them up, and take the whites out 20 minutes before.
That's a good rule
So
of thumb to remember.
they're not so cold.
Sparkling, champagne.
Again, I like mine really cold. And also, they need to be cold, because otherwise that's when they go pop. So yeah, the main thing is you've got to be cold. They've got to be cold, and fridge cold, in my opinion. And then twist the bottle, not the cork.
I think it's probably about time that we reveal our best buys from the ones that we tested. As I said before, this is only available to our members. More details on how you can join Which, if you're not already a member, are in the show notes. But for now, Sam, thanks very much for joining us.
Very welcome. Thanks very much.
And Becky, thank you.
Thank you.
That brings to an end another podcast from Which. There's loads more for you to read about everything we discussed today. Just head to the episode description for more useful everyday advice. There you'll also find an exclusive offer for podcast listeners like you to become a Which member for 50% off the usual price, giving you access to our product reviews, our app, one-to-one personalised buying advice, and every issue of Which magazine across the year. Plus, your membership helps us to make life simpler, fairer and safer for everyone. If you'd like to know when we release a new episode, then make sure you press subscribe wherever you're listening. That way you can be one of the first to listen. And for any questions, comments or anything in between, follow us on social media at WhitchUK or email us podcasts@which.co.uk. Goodbye.
If you're enjoying this podcast from us here at Which, then why not become a Which member? Right now, we've got a special offer, especially for podcast listeners, meaning you can choose any of our 3 membership tiers for 50% off the usual price. Starting at just £39.50 for a full year, you can get Which magazine delivered direct to your door. For the same price, you could also choose a digital Which subscription, giving you access to all of our product reviews, the Which app, and the digital edition of Which magazine. What's more, you'll also be able to use the Ask Which service for personalised one-to-one buying advice. Or why not get a full access Which subscription for just £49.50 for a full year? Don't forget, that's 50% off the usual price. To join Which or to find out more, just head to which.co.uk/podcast offer. That's which.co.uk/podcast offer. Or click the link in the description for today's podcast for 50% off a Which annual subscription.